guys, and welcome to a new episode of Psicoactivo. Today is a very special day because I've been part of the UFO Twitter community for a little over a year. I've been just going in there and try to see the dynamic, how it goes. And when I started doing what I'm doing right now, uh, this phenomenon called spaces started happening. I know it was already kind of there, but it didn't take off until everything started happening in the UAP disclosure world. And I got to meet a lot of cool personalities in there. And one of these personalities is Paul's Portal. Paul is a space, Twitter space hosts who, if I may say, has the chillest ones in all of Twitter about the UFO topic. And yesterday, something really weird happened. I want Paul to tell us and take us through what happened. First of all, welcome, Paul. Welcome to Psicoactivo.
Hey, how's it going, Pavel? Good to be here in the flesh. Good to see you in person for the first time. It's always nice to, match the voice with the face.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and we do both use our own pictures, so I already know what you look like. But there's a lot of people that
Oh, very
like to
true.
protect their anonymity, but I mean, much respect to them. Each to its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yesterday we were at one of the spaces. You've already been through kind of a interesting day before this space took place, right? What happened before that?
Well, it was a number of, I guess we could say, right? Because we were a part of some of the spaces that were happening throughout the day. So there were multiple sightings of these orbs, right? So I believe initially 4 hours before my sighting, uh, Christian Carroll had saw an orb, and he was with his son. So he was in a live space. So there's a theme happening there, or at least starting there, right? And then a couple of hours later, we were in the middle of the space. I was hosting my own space, and I went outside to my balcony. And I just had that instantaneous like feeling like, yeah, I'm gonna see something. And sure enough, we're in the middle of talking about like three-letter agencies and all this other crazy stuff that's connected to the whole UFO topic and secrecy stuff. And I pretty much said like I didn't say, but I thought right in my head like I think I'm gonna see something. So I look up and I see the orb there. And it is curious. I'll tie it back some of the details, but it is curious, right? After that space, I believe there's somebody else in the community, Ursula, who saw an orb as well. And even to tag onto that, there were multiple UAP descending in Brazil, right? So, um, the whole synopsis of it feels like there's some type of like vibrational connection to this phenomenon that's making these things appear. So I think that's like the whole synchronicity aspect that I'm trying to like gather my mind around at the moment. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the sum of what happened yesterday. I will say earlier during the day, I did talk to a supposed person who is a part of the gate, who was a part of the gate program, where he worked on enhancing his psi abilities and so forth. I'm not quite sure if I'm allowed to say his name yet or anything like
Are
that, but
you
if you
talking
look,
about Lightbringer?
yes. Well, you
Okay.
said it, so there you go.
Well,
Yeah,
the thing is that Patrick from Vetted, he made a video about him,
that's right.
and
Okay, that's right.
you had already come forward, so you're good. You're safe. Don't worry about it. But yeah, what was
Okay,
this
yeah.
experience like when you spoke to him? Because I'm guessing you're tying it to what happened to you, right? Because it was a very momentous occasion.
Yeah, in a way, I kind of put that together more or less this morning, actually. I wasn't really thinking about it just because of like the ontological shock, right? And I've seen UFOs before, but this was the first time where it felt well. I wouldn't say it felt different. Well, actually, it did feel different, but it was the first time I've seen one at night. My other two experiences have been during the day. One was a metallic orb about 15 years ago, and probably I'd say 2 to 3 months ago, I think it was like a tic tac type of shape thing during the middle of the day, and
Damn.
yeah, so it's like uh, it's like the hitchhiker effect thing, right? Like once you start getting more into this topic, you kind of like start to, I guess, tap into whatever frequency or dimension these things are. I don't like to say living in, right? But how they travel or exist in, if you will, if that's
Yeah.
even a thing. But yeah, for sure, man.
And something that I was really curious about was the reaction from the people who were listening in while you were having this
Right.
experience, because it was kind of a little chaos at a certain point. People were asking you
Yes.
to record. I was worried about you. I was like, dude, what color is it? Like, because we've heard Chris Bledsoe and Dr. Cole Kelleher talk about the color of the orbs and how they may
Right.
represent something negative or positive, and I was worried about that. I know Experience and Dove, who are also UFO Twitter members, we're
Mhm.
talking about this with you and trying to keep you calm in a sense because you were freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty surreal, man. And I honestly appreciated the ones that were trying to, keep me level headed, just because of the fact that um, there was a lot of excitement, right, in the room. Everybody was like, take a picture, do this. And people were making jokes too, which was like, it was kind of funny in the moment. But at the same time, it was like this weird moment, right? So it was a lot to digest. And, even after we ended the live space, I kind of had to collect myself for a little bit after. And it was pretty emotional, to be honest. It was one of those things where I had like that feeling you have when you're about to perform or like speak in front of a classroom, like that rumbly, like excited but nervous feeling.
Yeah.
Um, and it's weird. I never really pray, but I was getting like pretty emotional, and I prayed, because I felt like I didn't feel any negative intention with the whole thing, but I just felt like that was the right thing to do for some reason. And maybe because I am someone who considers themselves like I don't like the word spiritual, but curious in like the esoteric realm of things.
Yeah.
I find it necessary to kind of guard your spirit and consciousness. So it was one of those things where I'm just like, well, it was an exciting, weird moment, but I felt like it was necessary because of all the emotions. Like, I mean, you heard it there too. During that live space, it was kind of like this thing where you can hear me like so vulnerable, just like, oh my God, like laughing like a drunk person. And uh, I was dead sober. So it was just like one of those things, like, like you're giddy like a kid, but at the same time, like you don't even know how to process what you're looking at. But as far as it goes with like the color stuff, um, seen that video today with like some of the footage from the descending UFOs there in Brazil. There's this one video that's floating around. I kind of resonated with that. It was more like rainbowish, if that makes sense. Because
Okay.
like if you really try to focus in on the color aspect, or at least for this specific orb, it would have like a certain color for like for a fragment of time, and then it would shift. But like, I guess you can say more or less the surrounding part of it uh, had that constant shift of like rainbow, if that makes sense.
You know, CE5, obviously. Are you, after this experience, are you willing to try and do something like that, or do you want it to happen organically?
I think the organic route is probably the safest route because people always talk about like the variations of emotions that they experience when they interact with orbs. And there's a lot of stories out there, right, that have a lot of negative connotations. So for me, I've heard a lot of bad things in a way. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's probably not do that. But
Yeah, I've heard a lot
I
of
did
bad
have
bad
this,
things too.
yeah, I did have this conversation though earlier. And um, basically the point that was made is that like if you have that feeling and you feel it like there, like then you should focus on the positive intent. If you feel like that vibrational feeling, like you might see something, because I feel like once you start to again like dive into this topic, you start to stargaze more. Especially like if you're like me, you live in the country, right? So yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think if I ever have that feeling again, like the way I did last night, I'm gonna just try to like have a more positive intention. Like this is a safe environment. It's gonna be a good experience, yada yada type of thing.
If this happens again, I'm gonna try and get you some really cool camera with a badass lens so you can start
I
recording them.
know. So many people were like, yeah, "Do you have another camera? Go end the space."
I
All
wanted
this
to ask you
craziness.
something a little personal. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I don't know if you
Sure.
remember about Chris Bledsoe and his story. And the
Yeah.
first time that the orbs started appearing to him more regularly, he was going through some difficult personal times. And you've shared a little bit of the stuff you've been going through lately. Do you think that may be related? The fact that you saw the orb yesterday and what you're going through right now?
I mean, it very well could be, right? If, you know, if we take a step back and we look at, I guess, everything happens for a reason type of perspective. So I would say, yeah. Right now, I'm like in the process of some personal like struggle, uh, business wise, and yada yada, right? So yeah, I would say it is connected. I don't know if it's something that I'm not sure if it's something that is directly connected to it in the sense where like I was meant to see that just as like a precursor of hope, right? Because I was getting a lot of messages about like, yeah, this is like a good thing. This is like gonna help you see like things clearer and whatnot, like messages like that. So I don't know. I always just try to manage my expectations with, what's meant to be is meant to be, right? Murphy's Law type of thing.
Yeah.
So I just try to like think, well, yeah, it was meant to be, but I just don't try to correlate it all to trauma because, again, we talked about it a couple of seconds ago. Like, once you start associating the experience, right, with trauma, then like you kind of start to spiral a little bit. And I think you're kind of right in a sense because I have been going through it emotionally. So having that experience did take me outside of myself, if I'm being honest. So yeah, I mean, I'd say it was helpful, right? It
Yeah.
helped me kind of step outside of my mind for a bit. So yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing, right? You know how these Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, there's like again that connection. I don't even want to say the word vibrational again, but there's this connection, right, where these people are starting to manifest them. Even there's Nathaniel Hanks, I believe he's on
Yeah, I
X.
know him. Yeah.
He hadn't ever seen an orb, and I believe he did one space like a couple of weeks ago with Christian and RC and somebody else that's an experiencer, and he saw one like all at the same time as them, and he sent me video too. So, like you said, there is a phenomenon happening within these Twitter spaces, and it's pretty unique. Where it's like unintended CE5, but with good vibes or something. I don't know.
You know what made me think is that this control disclosure process that is going on in the government, this this phenomenon makes me think that whatever those orbs are, they want to manifest themselves as they see fit, not as the establishment tells them to, you know? And I know that the people that came forward, like Sans or even Lightbringer recently, I know these guys are. I've been told by people that they're legit, and but they have some wild claims. But I don't know. I think Twitter does get a deserved bad rep because there's a lot of
Mm,
toxicity here. But I also
I
think
agree.
that it's a really cool place when you find the good frequency, you know? And for example, I said that your spaces are some of the chillest ones, but I've been in spaces where we're just cracking up and just like laughing at stupid shit and we're having fun and it's cool, you know? And I think that's very valuable. And I think this is new form of media that's exactly what it is. Spaces eventually is going to become something like more organized and structured. And you're one of the pioneers of this UFO Twitter spaces. So I want to commend you for that, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talked about the laughing part, I think there's so much darkness, right, in this topic. And um, you know, there's been some crazy moments where you can connect with somebody on one of these spaces and have a full on heart to heart. You're trying to console that person or vice versa, and it can get very heavy. It's probably a better word, close to dark. So it's always good to have like a joking camaraderie when it comes to some of the topics, surrounding the whole UAP secrecy and stuff. So yeah, it's good to laugh about things and kind of um, interject reality as well. And what I mean by that is stuff outside of the UAP topic, because I was talking about this today. Like, I think a lot of people in this community they forget that there's more to life than just UFOs. Um, and I even said it earlier as well too, that if life is this constructed reality, then me personally, I would choose to keep living it for love only, if that makes sense. And a lot of people are talking about um, how this phenomenon is directly correlated to love, when you look at the deeper aspect of inside of yourself and how we ascend outside of just this dimension, right? If these things exist and that's where they exist, I think that's something that people need to look more into, because there is a lot of fuckery happening, right? There's a huge cover up. So I really get that. There's people that have died over this, right?
Yeah.
So that's important to fight for, but just look at the passion, right, that people have for it. Like, that's love. And people have these surreal moments too when they experience a sighting. Or even like, there's, if you want to throw in the negative aspect, there's been that trickery too where an NHI can influence your emotions either in a positive way or in a negative way. So I think staying level headed is kind of like the point I'm trying to make here, is that you can be into this topic, you can do all the research you want to do, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's truly about life is truly about like that feeling of love, connecting with somebody. And I take that very personally because I'm just a passionate person. I'm a musician, I'm a father, husband. So it's just one of those things that I hold dearly to my heart when it comes to this subject. And kind of why I like to keep my room or my spaces, right? Pretty chill for the most part. That's not to say, we don't joke around, tease each other here and there, but it's important to just look at it from a positive aspect sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm that counterpoint. There's a lot of other people who can lay out the crazy negative aspect, and I appreciate them too because we need those counterpoints. So yeah.
Yeah, there are spaces that are just chaos, and sometimes just getting in and just uh watching everything burn. It's kind of odd, but
It's
I'm like,
wild.
that's what you do. You go like that, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, dude.
something that I don't know if you've meditated over it during the experience. There was a certain moment where a name was pronounced and the orb reacted to that
Yeah.
name. What name was it?
Okay. Yeah, it was really funny in the moment too. The reaction that this orb had when this name was mentioned. It was like the Beetlejuice thing, right? Three times, say it three
Yeah,
times, and you'll have a reaction. But the name was Bledsoe. Somebody said Bledsoe, and as soon as they said that, this thing started zigzagging, like, and then it would go like up and down. It was wild, and
that's really
some of that
wild.
footage is there on my X account, so it's there if anybody wants to look at it. It's not the best footage. It was pretty high up, and this is another detail that I was explaining earlier is that when it was descending, it it was getting smaller. So my depth perception was just so off, like or manipulated. It's probably the better word because I was just looking at this thing, and when it would get uh, closer, like to that, the atmosphere, if you will, right? Um, it would shrink like a firefly.
That's
So,
weird.
and when it would go back up, it would get bigger, but it still looked like the same size, and it was still zigging and zagging. So it was just like this total manipulation of the eye. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that.
Do you think they're already considered like Chris one of like a conduit to communicate with humanity or something like that? Because it was
I
really
think
strange.
I think it could be something where, yeah, I would say I think it's something like that, along with again, like I hate to sound like a broken record, but like just like this vibration of consciousness, like the hitchhiker effect thing, right? Like you start digging deeper into it, start talking about it more, start stargazing more, and then you got people that are frequent experiencers, and I guess even them going through their experiences, it somehow like opens up your perception in a way where you're not looking for it, but your mind is tapped into like the thought process, right? So
Yeah.
the fact that it's talked about so much in these spaces, like I feel like if we're talking about personal disclosure, right, like it's going to be a thing where a lot of people are going to start seeing it, right? Like I think you said that in the beginning here, like it's probably going to be a thing, right? So
Yep.
let's go UFO Twitter.
Let's get cameras.
I know, right? Let's get high tech cameras, high
Yeah.
quality cameras. Hell yeah.
Okay. And what did you wake up with any weird dreams? Do you remember anything? I know Experience was talking about something kind of spooky, but I gotta ask you about that. Did you check your body for any weird dots or something or anything like that?
Yeah, and actually, thanks guys for putting the paranormal paranoia on me. Sorry. Um, I did do that. I did check in the morning.
Good.
I was like, huh, do I got anything? And I'm good. But I will
Okay.
say this is probably a funny thing more than like a serious thing, but my neck was pretty it was hurting pretty bad like when I woke up. And but I thought about it, I was like, I probably just slept wrong.
Yeah, or you were like this for a long while, right?
Honestly, that is kind of how I slept.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think it's gonna be like a even bigger uptick in these sightings? Because I kind of feel it is. And I wanted to ask you if you have anything planned for your spaces anytime soon, because you recently were on the with Danny Sheehan on the space, and that talk was really wild. I listened to it for about an hour, and you got some really great exclusives. You kept it really tight. It was really cool. You got anything? First of all, tell me, what was that experience like speaking to Danny and all the organization of the space? Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, you've talked to him too, right? So he can go on for hours. He's a wealth of knowledge and information. And I know a lot of people, they're not the biggest fan of some of the political aspect of this. And they start throwing out like insults like grifting and all of this nasty stuff, right? But yeah, personally, um, it was a pleasure to talk to him and get to ask him a couple of questions. Really, that experience for me was for people that are a little more in tune with the political aspect of it because um, you know, this whole conversation, right? It's something that I'm more connected to, which is the consciousness aspect of this phenomenon. But I do still really look into a lot of the outside pieces, right, that surround the secrecy. So, I mean, we're all here trying to fight for transparency. So, to me, that was just for the people that really wanted answers. So, I tried my best to ask a couple of good questions. I'll be honest, I got shot down a little bit, and it was expected because I mean, I was asking the questions that were, that he isn't privy to talk about, basically. So
Okay.
that was cool, and a lot of other people asked great questions. My co-host Jason Osap Rocky, he asked a lot of great questions, and a lot of the people on the panel there too. We had Science Bob, um, I think Red Panda, and a couple of other people were in that space that asked really good questions. And like you said, you mentioned vetted, right? So I think there was even a clip that came out on there that Panda had asked a question to Danny
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was more, like I said, for people that are more interested in that. And uh, I think that's kind of what I want to do in this community is, branch out to different aspects of what people are doing the work on, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
um, I do have a couple of things and people in the mix right now. Um, Nothing definitive just yet, but yeah, I mean, I haven't been on UFO Twitter for long. It's been about less than a year or so, but I've had Twitter since like 2010. I'm not new to Twitter, so I'm very familiar with the drama and the craziness of Twitter. So there's that. But as far as it goes with UFO Twitter, I went head in, and it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Minus some of the craziness, right? We can all agree on that.
Yeah, but you steer clear of it, so you're good, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
great. I still think that UFO Twitter deserves chances to evolve and become what the potential that it has. And I think people like you are gonna help it get there, to be honest with you. So where can people find you? Tell us before we leave. What do you want to
Yeah,
promote?
yeah, sure. So yeah, my handle's at Paul's Portal underscore at the end there. Uh, do weekly spaces. Always trying to just bring a good conversation that people can bounce ideas off of in a respectful way, of course. And this is something open to newcomers as well. I mean, we got to be able to let people who are interested in this topic have the ability to talk in these spaces too, because um, there's this kind of elitist type of um, thing that's happening there in spaces. So we got to like check each other every once in a while. But yeah, definitely. Just keep supporting X Space hosts for UFO Twitter, like myself and tons of others. There's a lot more informed people than me. Um, Trust me, there's a lot. I learned from them. So if anything, I'm the student. I'm just here to have fun. I'm here to learn, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I feel like a newbie too. I wanted to tell you that I actually met Osap in Los Angeles in person. Did you know about
Oh,
that?
that's awesome. No, I did
No.
not.
Yeah,
That's
I was
super
on a
cool, man.
space on he invited me over to the space on Friday night, and I was talking to everybody with him at my side, and it was really cool. He's a really cool dude.
That's awesome, man. So
Yeah,
cool, so cool. We gotta all link up someday and
yeah, we should do
do
something.
something.
Maybe
Yeah,
for UFO Twitter Con. UFO
yeah.
Twitter Con.
UFO Twitter Con. Heck yeah, man.
Let's speak it into existence.
Let's go.
All right, Paul. Well, on behalf of the Psicoactivo community, I want to thank you for sharing your story and for being one of my guests. Um, have a good one, man. Take care.
Oh yeah. Thanks again, Pavel. Have a good night, man.
Take care. Everyone, share, comment, subscribe, like, you know the drill. Thank you. Bye bye.
Peace.